There we go. My name's Kevin Alaka. I am YouTube's trends manager. I work for Google in New York City, and I oversee community and social for YouTube, as well as oversee our trends project, which we'll talk a little bit about that. But I wanted to talk today a little bit about what viral means, but also generally, I think, what makes today so unique for artists and entertainers and creators. And so one of the goals of what I do with trends is very simple, but it's also very complicated. And that's trying to understand what's happening on YouTube every day. What is the collective conversation that's happening on YouTube? And it sounds simple, but it's actually kind of complicated. And the fact that that's even a thing is kind of strange and unusual. So let's start with some of the numbers. Over 72 hours of video get uploaded to YouTube every minute, which is a crazy number. That is more than 1 hour for every second. And these videos are seen 4 billion times per day. That's to a giant global audience that is around 800 million people per month. And so this whole idea came from one very simple idea, right? Which was, let's make the sharing and posting of video simpler, right? That was the original idea of YouTube 7 years ago. And just this past May, we celebrated our 7th birthday, and we put together this video that sort of pulls together what has happened over the last few years. I think it's good context to start this conversation.
When we first started, it was just trying to share these clips with one another.
We saw the power of simplifying a process and giving everyone a solution.
To say thank you. Today we have some exciting news for you. We've been acquired by Google.
Hello?
Daddy, that really hurt.
I'm Clara. I'm 91 years old.
This is the CNN YouTube debate.
Yes, we can.
One of the features of growing old is heightened awareness of change.
Is this real life?
People who are taking these pictures are literally risking their lives to do what they're doing, and YouTube gives them a venue.
Okay, so how do you find success amongst all of this? There's one thing that everybody always wants to talk to me about, and that is, how do things go viral? What is viral? How did this thing get viral, right? And the answer is that there really is no answer. There's no specific definition for the word viral. Usually people in advertising are usually really disappointed to hear that, right? They want to know, how do I do it? But there is no real definition of this, and I think that it's sort of a shorthand for a new entertainment, news, sometimes even education, consumption pattern that we've never had possible before. And it's the sort of effect of what happens when you open up video, the power of video, to everyone. And none of us here can usually describe it specifically, but we all seem to know it when we see it, right? From a data perspective, we know that it's some variation of search and views, and very importantly, sharing and embedding of something that causes it to spread so quickly. And it's some varying combination of that, but for the average person, it's just everybody seems to be talking about it online, and it's usually started on the internet, but not always, right? These are the things that everybody sort of knows. And there are a lot of explanations that people will give for how and why things get so popular. But I tell people a lot, don't get bogged down in that idea of trying to figure out how to make your thing go viral or whatever it is, because since it's not a specific thing that you're shooting for, there isn't a set number of basic steps you can take in order to achieve that, right? Instead, I think we should think about it as kind of a hallmark of a new kind of media that we should all be pretty excited about. There are a lot of things that can be learned from these very popular viral phenomenon, though, and I think the thing that makes now different than before is that as the technology has gotten so much better, the world has gotten a lot smaller, and the connection between an artist and an audience has become a lot tighter. And I think that the people who do really well on YouTube understand these two things. There are a lot of the most popular creators on YouTube. They'll not just have one channel, they'll have 3 channels. They'll have one channel where they post their very well-produced, very nice videos. They'll have one channel where they'll post all of their behind-the-scenes stuff, maybe. They'll have another channel where they'll just post videos from their iPhone that they had shot talking about their day. Because all of this creates this sort of collective experience around these creators. And granted, famous filmmakers like Orson Welles never had to deal with this kind of thing, right? Classic filmmakers never dealt with that kind of direct crowd interaction. But I like to think that the most innovative among them would have adapted and become a part of this ecosystem. And so what I think this means is a more engaged crowd and an audience that feels personally invested in everything that we do. And I think that it also means that there are new ways of being discovered by anyone, anywhere in the world. And as for artists, that's what we all want, right? We want our work to be seen, we want it to be appreciated at a very basic level. And so if viral represents something we've never had before, then this whole ecosystem is partially driven by something else that we never had before, which is that two-way communication with the online community that we now have. And I think that this is at the core of online success, and I think it's at the core of YouTube. And it becomes really, really obvious when you go to the extreme, right? Because sometimes there's a video that actually doesn't even matter what's in the video, right? It ends up being your reaction to the video that is important. And that is how you end up with this.
It's Friday, Friday, gotta get down on Friday. Everybody's looking forward to the weekend, Friday.
This is Rebecca Black. You've probably seen this video. It had 200 million views, close to that last year. It was the most viewed thing on YouTube. And this is confusing for a lot of people. It's confusing for me because you get to this question of how does the thing that nobody likes become the most popular thing, right? And it turns out that really the answer to that is, well, it's not the thing itself that matters, it's what you do or what you think of that thing, because that's what drives the sharing, that's what drives the conversation around that thing. And so, this is not necessarily an example of great art for many, right? But that sort of helps us explain why it is so quote-unquote popular. And it's not always just about conversation either. Has anybody not seen this before? Okay, a couple of people. This is for your benefit. This is Nyan Cat. This is a looped animation. It's got a loop tune behind it. It's been played 75 million times on YouTube. And that is strange, but I think even stranger, there's a 10-hour version of this that has 14 million views. The animation for it was created by this guy. His name's Chris Torres. He's an animator in the United States. A student, I think maybe in Texas, took a Japanese Vocaloid song, it's called Nyan 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 Nyan, something like that, and put it behind the looped animated GIF that Chris had created, posted it on YouTube, and I think that this video here explains how most people react to it when they see it for the first time.
I think I got the idea.
How long does this last?
Well, I keep waiting for something to happen.
Yeah. Is it going to keep going, or does it change colors or anything?
Is this supposed to hypnotize me or something?
Is it a way to test monitors to see how long it takes for someone to break it?
It's like an old record that the needle got stuck.
I can't take any more of this.
Can't take any more of this. This one would be very sad to learn that it didn't just stop at this video. In fact, different people all around the world started making remixes of that clip. I did a count recently. You know, it's a rough number because it's not really worth getting the full, exact, precise number. But there are about 100,000 Nyan videos on YouTube right now, and it includes essentially one for every country in the world. I'll save everybody the Google search here. People were directly, creatively engaged with this video in ways that we had never seen before. And sometimes it was actually kind of amazing, I think. Now, a lot of people struggle to understand this whole thing, and they can't explain this behavior at all. They have a lot of trouble with it.
What are your thoughts generally that this is one of the most famous things ever on the internet?
Well, you know, it's kind of sad, really.
I'm dumbfounded. Do you think people have better things to do with their lives?
Pretty typical of you young folks.
People in my age group, we have a very difficult time keeping up with technology. I don't understand it, and I'm a little afraid of it.
So are you a little afraid of this video?
This video? No. In fact, I don't even know what the hell it's all about, what we're looking at.
This whole idea of remix, of participatory entertainment, if you want to call it that, is fairly new, and it's very confusing especially if you're not familiar with web culture. I think if you look closely at it, you can see how it opens up all kinds of new possibilities for creative expression. Video is a very powerful thing, and there are all kinds of these new possibilities that become available when the power of video becomes available to all of us. And web has made things like borders completely irrelevant. Instead, now connections can be made that are purely cultural. And we saw this, one example is we saw it play out last year with cheesy Jewish holiday parody videos. I don't know if you've seen any of these. Produced in Israel for Rosh Hashanah. 20% of its views were in Israel. About another 50% of those views were in the United States, actually. The song, obviously, a globally popular song that it's parodying. Really cheesy, but it was created by the Maccabeats in New York City. They're a university a cappella group. And interestingly, though, the same percentage of views as the other video were held for this video. And so you start to see how two similar cultures can connect, but the border that we used to have is no longer there. The content can now spread across the world very simply and very easily. And so the content transcends the language. It can transcend geography. I'll give you another example of this. It's a little more obvious. You've probably definitely seen this video. This video has 70 million views, and I had the great fortune of having to explain to a lot of people last year why this was one of the 10 most viewed videos on YouTube, particularly when I know we have so much other awesome creative stuff happening on the site. And not that this isn't funny, I do think it's funny, I guess, but like, you know, it's not the best thing that we have necessarily. But the thing is, when you start looking at the data, right, behind those 70 million views, you start to see things like 1 in every 100 people in the Philippines have seen this video. And it was shot in a kitchen in Brooklyn. That's never happened before. And so you start to realize, well, when you remove language as an obstacle, things can quickly spread very, very easily. And that's why I think actually view counts are very deceiving. A lot of people judge their success by a view count, and they're like, how can I compete with 70 million views? Well, you can't compete with 70 million views if you have something that doesn't sort of transcend all language and culture, right, which is babies and cats, right? Those are two things and that's why everybody's like, oh, YouTube's full of cat videos. Well, we have a lot of cat videos, and they're really popular because everybody doesn't hate cat videos, right? And that's how they amass these crazy number of views. And it explains why this global content does so well, and explains why things like subtitles can be really, really important. And another thing that I often wonder about with all of this is that you can start to see how the line between professional and amateur that existed very solidly for a very long time has now gotten very, very blurred, and the relative value between those two things has gotten pretty confusing. You've probably heard this song. It's one of the songs of 2012, I would say. So Gotye was an up-and-coming, he was a signed artist, he had 3 albums, but he didn't have a lot of exposure outside of Australia, which is where he was from, where he was really popular. And so this is a chart that shows the views on that video since it was first posted. And you can see how in 2012 it's really become very, very huge. This is the, I think, daily number of views. Sometimes it gets like 2 million views a day. The song is really popular. But you see that there's this spike in January right there. And I think that if you don't have any context, that seems a little bit conspicuous.
Somebody that you used to
This is a band called Walk Off the Earth. They're from Ontario, Canada. This version is called 5 People, 1 Guitar. It was an overnight success. You might have seen it. It was very, very popular. And so what night was it an overnight success? It was actually a night in January. Now, it's hard to say that there's a direct cause, right, between the Walk Off the Earth version and the Gotye one. There's a lot of factors that can lead to something becoming popular in the mainstream like this song did, right? Radio airplay can be really important. When they release it in different countries, that can be an important thing. You could see actually in April, there's another big hump there. There's the American show Glee. That's when they performed it on Glee, and it sort of, that also helped drive its popularity. But interestingly, many people remember the cover version, the 5 People, 1 Guitar thing, better than they remember the video that Gotye actually created.
Well, you done me and you bet I felt it. I tried to beat you, but you're so hot that I melted. I fell right through the cracks. Now I'm trying to get back. Before the cool done run out, I'll be giving it my bestest, and nothing's gonna stop me but divine intervention.
Now, this video was created by Vanya Heyman, who's joining us today, so we're going to hear a little bit from him in a bit. But he started putting his art school projects online. This was one of his homework assignments that he had posted. Some of them got quite elaborate, and he went from a 2-year art program to doing things like producing a commercial for Pepsi.
הרי קבענו ל8, עכשיו 8:45.
Very cool. And I think even cooler than that, he was also asked to direct a sketch for Eretz Nehederet. I think I got it right. And he's going to be joining us, as I said, for a discussion in a minute. He could tell us more about that whole experience. But I think just as he discovered, the number of obstacles that are now standing between raw talent and the mass media have definitely diminished. Audiences, as well as labels, brands, the people with money, are using YouTube to find new talent now. Carmen was a local band in Boston who did very unconventional covers of rap songs that were very unique. They were performing in bars and streets like most bands do.
I feel like I gotta get away, but I know that I don't and I won't ever stop, cause you know I gotta win every day. See, they don't really wanna pop me, just know that you will never flop me, and I know that I could be a little cocky. You ain't never gonna stop me, anytime I come at you, you gotta set it, then I gotta go, and then I gotta get it, then I gotta blow, and then I gotta shut up any little thing that you can think of, if you don't,
This is them performing on Newbury Street in Boston, if anybody's ever been there. And they started posting more rehearsed and more produced versions on YouTube.
Do you really want to know what's next? See the way we on it when we all up in the race, and you know we gotta go and try to keep up with the pace, and we struggle in a hustle.
This is one of the most popular videos from last year, actually.
And I gotta cut through all this traffic just to be at the top of the throne. Gotta know I gotta have it. Look at me now. Look at me now. I'm getting paid.
And here they are a few months ago on national television performing on Saturday Night Live in the US. It's Saturday Night Live is a well-known venue where a lot of great artists get to perform, and all of this happened start to finish in about a little less than a year. And so you don't actually even have to be a viral success either, like they were. Like I mentioned, that one video became incredibly popular. Justin Bieber, for better or worse, got discovered on YouTube, and he didn't have one video that had millions of views or whatever. He was just discovered by, I think it was Usher's label found him. You probably heard that story before if you are into that sort of new media music thing. And another story you may have heard is the story of Fede Alvarez. Fede is a Uruguayan filmmaker. This film, he said, cost him $300 to make this short film. He put it online, he started sharing it with people. Suddenly, other people started sharing it with other people. Kanye West put it on his blog. Then he got a call and got a $30 million Hollywood film deal to work on a film with Sam Raimi, who made Spider-Man and Evil Dead movies and those things. All from a film that cost him $300. And so we launched the Your Film Festival to help more of these talents. We got so many submissions that we needed another 2 weeks, and I've heard a lot of good things about the stuff coming from Israel. But it's not even just the film industry that this phenomenon happens in. This is Marquez Scott. Dancer from Atlanta. He's been dancing for 17 years, trying to make it as a dancer. He posted this. It got 50 million views. He's got a bunch of other popular videos now. He is now busy touring the world, dancing, appearing in ads like this. YouTube is only 7 years old, as I mentioned, but because of these new advances, new rules are being written constantly. I actually myself used to make mashup comedy videos for long before I started working at YouTube, and I had one rule at the time, and this is my rule of viral success because I was an expert, quote unquote, to myself on these things. And I said, for a video to go viral, it has to be funny. You have to be able to explain it in one sentence. That was important. And it had to be less than 2 minutes long. And those are the rules for me, and I would always abide by those rules. And that's sort of outdated now. I think a lot of us recognize that, but it was actually completely dispelled in March.
to level with you, this movie expires on December 31st, 2012. And its only purpose is to stop the rebel group, the LRA, and their leader, Joseph Kony. And I'm about to tell you exactly how we're going to do it.
Kony 2012, 30 million views in one day. Nothing that we've had on YouTube has been close to that. And it's a 30-minute documentary that's about a very complicated situation in Africa, and it got 30 million views in a day. Not even new rules are being broken, new genres are being created.
Okay, let's just pick the mother of all funk chords. Let's pick a ninth chord.
This funk mashup was created by Kudiman. He's a local producer here in Tel Aviv who, because of this video, became globally known. I've been a big fan of his for a while. He became so popular that Maroon 5 actually sent him footage from their studio and behind-the-scenes stuff and asked him to make a video out of it. Kudiman, his real name is Ophir Kutiel, was interviewed by Wired, and this is what he said about the experience. He said, "I live in a small city, in a small neighborhood, in a small house, in a small country. I didn't expect to get this big this fast. It sometimes feels impossible to reach out to the world's music scene from Tel Aviv, but now it's all good." So I want to conclude just by saying a couple of things. One, don't be worried about viral. It's a thing that is a goal that's incredibly difficult and, if not impossible, to attain directly. I would say take advantage of what makes YouTube different than the other media that we've had before it. I think be original, that's a given. I think that that's not a problem for many people that are here right now. But also, don't just be original, figure out ways to be original and connect directly with the audience. YouTube has 4 billion views per day, and the number of hours watched is just going to continue to grow. That's a lot of opportunity, but you have to take advantage of it. Thank you.